If you want to obtain your first Airbnb co-host property and want to learn how to sell the value of having an Airbnb co-host, this is for you. So first and foremost, what's a co-host? What's an Airbnb short-term rental co-host? That depends on the arrangement, but in most cases, a co-host is going to handle all the day-to-day operations, handle the management, handle the business, almost consider it like a business partner without giving up equity and ownership in the property, right? Because this person is going to have a pretty big, significant portion in bringing in the revenue to the property. So they're dealing with things such as, number one, hospitality, customer service, guest communication, pricing, design, marketing. You're talking about coordination with management. You're talking about coordination with issues. Okay, so depending on how you structure your deal, it's an all-inclusive A to Z, because the co-host is really dealing with the day-to-day management of the property. Operating, running, managing an Airbnb can be a game changer for your income as a co-host, but I'm gonna be honest, it's a ton of work, right? From managing, from operating, scheduling, coordination, communicating with the guests, cleaners, handyman, issues, a lot of pressure, a lot of work. But there's a lot of value for the property owner. Why should the property owner hire a co-host? In my opinion, most property owners, investors, need a co-host, right? Because they're focused on their business. They're focused on their real estate business. They're focused on buying more properties, investing in more properties, or they have a corporate job that takes up their day-to-day. A co-host, you come into value here is dealing with the day-to-day, dealing with the operations, dealing with the management. That could be anything from pricing, management, communication, handyman work. But we need to articulate that value. So let's dive in. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. As an Airbnb co-host, you're looking for your first property. What value do you bring? As an investor, as a homeowner, the number one value add that an Airbnb investor is looking for is time freedom. So if you're new to Airbnb co-hosting, but you can bring the value, the biggest thing you have right now is time. You might not have a whole bunch of properties under your belt, but you have time, you have enthusiasm, and you have passion, and you have the ability to figure out. So when you're speaking to an investor, on your sales call, we got to communicate. We can find out what's important to that investor. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it's going to be, I don't have the time. I have this property. I want it to cash flow, but they don't have the time to deal with it. But you have the time. You can articulate how you have time to learn, how you have time to do the communication, right? There's going to be 24-hour support that's really needed. How can you handle most of those hours? Or are you going to be able to deal with the late night text messages, right? The maintenance issues that could occur. Who's going to coordinate that? So if you can outline how the investor is going to be mostly hands off, and you can confide and provide some credibility, some trust, time, value, freedom is so important. And you have all the time to handle the communication, set up the messaging, set up the automations, right? You're going to be able to deal with the pricing, look at the market, do the market research. You have the time, right? And you have the freedom to be able to do these things, and you're taking the time and freedom and giving it to the investor. So that's number one. If you're new, you have all the time in the world, so you want to be able to articulate that. All right, how else can we add value as an Airbnb co-host? Lots to talk about. I would bring up scenarios in your presentation as how you're going to handle these scenarios, right? Hey, as well as me taking this off your plate and me taking, time, putting time and freedom back on your plate, in a scenario where your role comes in is if there's an emergency, if there's an issue, right? You're going to be available to handle it, right? You're going to have communication, and you're going to have your phone's going to be available to deal with these issues that the investor or the property owner doesn't have to deal with. That's a lot of value there. I'm available to handle the day-to-day operations. In a rare case of emergency, I'm going to be your point of contact, and this is the process. This is what's going to happen. And then we're going to do this, contact me, then maybe I'll contact you, where the investor is the last point of contact. that puts a lot at ease for them, right? That puts them at ease. They want to know that, okay? It's a small thing, but you want to bring it up, okay? So handling emergencies, you're not just a responder on the computer. You're available. You're live. You're able to go to the property when they're not able to go to property. This is a lot of value for an investor as a new Airbnb co-host. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the game. But if you're new and you're trying to get your first property, we're able to work and we're able to put in at the time because we're trying to buy our time back eventually. Right. Another value add as an Airbnb co-host. What do you provide? What do you bring to an investor that's looking for an Airbnb co-host? As a new co-host, you have that. We already went over what you have, what you can add, but now also the fourth reason is that you're able to help grow the business, right? And that's if the investor wants to grow. You have the time. You want to grow with this investor. And the investor doesn't want to have to hire 4 or 5 co-hosts, right? You want to make a relationship and say, hey, this is my time. This is what I can provide. This is the value that I have. And I want to be able to learn and grow with you so they don't have to have a turnover of co-hosts in their property. Okay. And so you really want to get into a conversation of what are the goals of an investor? And is the investor just trying this out, or do they want to scale and have several Airbnb properties in your market? Are you guys in alignment on markets? Do they have other properties that they would be interested in doing this? And if this goes well, so you want to kind of get a big picture of like what's their larger outcome, what's their big outcome, down the line. Once you know that, they want to save time. You know what their goals are. You have all the time in the world. You either got time or money. And right now we're trying to get our first deal, so we have time, right? So you really want to have that conversation to understand what the goals are, and then we can convey your value. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully you implement this into your sales pitch while you're talking to investors, while you're networking with investors on your journey to get your first Airbnb co-host property. It can be done. You're going to have the conversation. You're going to know exactly how you're going to add value. You're going to listen to their goals. You're going to understand what they need, which we already went over. It's probably freedom. It's definitely freedom. It's definitely time. And they definitely probably want to scale or grow on some level. And then you have to be able to interact and communicate that. And you're willing to actually start out for free because you believe in your process so much that you're willing to add that value. So hopefully this helps. If you are in the process of finding an Airbnb co-host or want to start, comment the word co-host below, and I will personally reach out to you and see how I can help. I'll send you a personal video to help you with your situation. So comment below, like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time.